Hello everyone, good morning. How are you? Hope you all are quite okay and fine. Welcome you all to my today online class. Before going to start my today's lecture, first of all I would like to introduce myself to all of you. I am Mohammad Ghulam Morshed, lecturer of biology, Milestone College, Uttara Dhaka. Today I am going to discuss about a very interesting topic, that is the name, distribution, secreted hormones and their functions of different endocrine glands of human body. We will be discussed here the impact of the different hormones on human behavior, male and female. We also discussed here the impact of the uncontrolled use of different hormones. These are the topics which will be discussed here today, and this topics is under the chapter 8, Human Physiology, Coordination and Control. The learning objectives of my today's lecture. After completing my today's lecture, students are able to know about, or you can easily define about chemical coordination, gland, endocrine gland, exocrine gland, trophic hormones. You can also explain the name, distribution, secreted hormones and their functions of different endocrine glands of human body. You also explain, or you can able to explain the impact of the different hormones on human behavior, male and female. You can also able to explain the impact of the uncontrolled use of different hormones. Now, as you know that there are two coordinating system in human body. These are the neural system and the endocrine system. The coordinating systems among different organs, systems, tissues and the cell through the nervous system is called the neural coordination. But the chemical coordination is the type of coordination present between the cells or defined organ within the body of multicellular organisms. In these kinds of coordination, a group of cells release specific chemicals which is called hormones that actually regulate the activities of other cells of the body. From this definition, we can understand that there are some chemical substance which is known as hormones is actually responsible for regulating the activities of the other cells of the body, or this chemical substance is actually responsible for regulate the various physiological activities of the human body. To understand hormone clearly, you should have some idea regarding the glands. What is gland? A cell or a cluster of cells which secrete some chemical substance or juice is called the gland. So, the glands are capable of secreting some chemical substance, and this chemical substance will be transferred through the blood or duct to the target tissue to perform specific functions. There are three types of glands in human body. Based on the presence or absence of the duct, glands are of mainly three types: exocrine glands, endocrine glands and mixed gland. Exocrine glands are those glands which have some duct. These glands secrete some chemical substance or juice which transported to the target tissues through the duct. Sweat glands and salivary glands are some of the example of exocrine type of glands. Endocrine glands don't have any duct. This is also called the ductless gland. These endocrine glands secrete some chemical substance which is called the hormones, and this hormone is directly diffused into the blood and it is transported to the target tissue to perform specific hormonal activities. Some of the important endocrine glands of human bodies such as pituitary gland and thyroid glands. Mixed glands or heterocrine glands. Mixed glands or heterocrine glands are those glands which contain both exocrine type of glands and endocrine types of gland. Pancreas is a good example of the mixed gland or heterocrine types of gland, because pancreas contain both exocrine types of and endocrine types of glands. Pancreas is the part of the digestive system. Its exocrine portion secretes some enzymes which is involved in various food digestion. But the endocrine portion of the pancreas is called the Langerhans. It contains various kinds of cells and which secrete some of the important hormones like insulin and glucagon. Now let's discuss about the differences between the exocrine gland and endocrine glands. Endocrine glands, these are glands without duct. We have already discussed about it earlier. Exocrine glands are glands with duct. Endocrine glands secrete hormones. Exocrine glands produce juice containing enzymes. Secretion are mainly poured directly into the blood, and secretion of exocrine glands are directly poured into the cavity through the duct. Secretion from the endocrine glands are minute in quantities, but secretion from the exocrine glands are in large quantities. Exocrine gland control long term of the target organ. Exocrine gland control short term of cavity, short activities. Examples are of pituitary glands, thyroid glands. Some of the exocrine glands are salivary gland and sweat gland, etc. Now, what is hormone? The term hormones is derived from the Greek word hormao, which means to excite or to stimulate. British scientists Starling and Bayliss 1904 first of all used the term hormone. They define hormone as any biochemical substance normally produced in the cell in some parts of the body and carried by blood or lymph stream to distant part which it affects for good of the body as a whole. This is the simple definition which is given by Starling and Bayliss. So we can easily understand from this definition that the hormone is a chemical substance secreted from the endocrine glands which is diffused directly into the blood stream to be transported to the target organ to perform specific hormonal activities. Now let's discuss about the tropic hormone. Tropic hormones are those hormones which can stimulate other glands to produce another hormone. Most of the tropic hormone in human body is secreted from the anterior pituitary glands. For example, thyroid stimulating hormone is an example of the tropic hormone because this hormone is actually secreted from the anterior pituitary glands, but it stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine hormone. Now the chemical properties of the hormones. Hormones are secreted from ductless glands circulating in the blood or lymph, control the activities of the cells of the other organs. Hormones serve as chemical messenger and bring about chemical coordination of various parts of the body. Like vitamin, they act in very low concentration and amount. Chemically, hormones are polypeptide or steroid or amino acid derivatives in nature. Now let's see the distribution of endocrine glands in human body. Human endocrine system is basically consisting of some important endocrine glands. Look at the figure here. Some of the endocrine glands of the human body. There are three important endocrine glands are located in the brain. These are the pineal gland, pituitary gland, and hypothalamus. Two endocrine glands are located at the neck region of the human body. These are the thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. Thymus gland is basically situated in between the two lungs. Adrenal gland is located at the top of the kidney. Adrenal gland means adjacent, renal related to the kidney. So adrenal means the adjacent to the kidney. This adrenal gland is also known as suprarenal gland. Pancreas is located just below the stomach. It is a leaf-like in structure and it contains endocrine glands which is called the Langerhans, which produce some important hormones like pancreas, important hormone like insulin and glucagon. Ovary is a very important endocrine gland which is only found in the female body. The ovary is actually located in the pelvic region and it is responsible for the production of sex hormone, estrogen and progesterone. And testis is another endocrine gland which is only found in the male bodies, and the testis is actually responsible for secretion of testosterone, a male sex hormone. Beside this important endocrine gland, there are another gland are also found during the pregnancy. This is called the placenta. Placenta is a endocrine gland which exists during the pregnancy period, and placenta is responsible for production of various kinds of hormones like exogenous estrogen, progesterone, HPL, and human chorionic gonadotrophin. Now let's discuss about each of the endocrine glands, their secreted hormone and functions briefly. First of all, I would like to discuss about the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is located just below the thalamus of the brain, forebrain. Growth hormone releasing hormone. Growth hormone releasing hormone is a hormone which is secreted from the hypothalamus, and this hormone is actually responsible for stimulating the release of the growth hormone from the pituitary gland. Thyrotropin releasing hormones, TRH, is actually stimulate to release of the thyroid stimulating hormone from thyroid gland and prolactin hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. Corticotropin releasing hormone, CRH, this hormone is stimulate to release the adrenocorticotropic hormone from adrenal gland. Gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH, is stimulate to release the luteinizing hormone or LH and FSH or follicle stimulating hormone from anterior pituitary glands. Luteinizing hormone and FSH hormones are collectively known as gonadotropin hormone because this hormone basically acts on gonads, testes and ovaries. Somatostatin, this hormone is responsible for the inhibition of the growth hormone. Dopamine is involved in the inhibition of the prolactin. Now let's discuss about the pituitary glands. Pituitary glands is a very important endocrine glands in human body. It is also known as the hypophysis. It's about the size of large pea and weighing 0.5 gram in human. It is located below the brain on the floor of the cranium and attached by a stalk to the hypothalamus. The pituitary gland is divided into an anterior lobe or adenohypophysis and a posterior lobe or neurohypophysis. It is also called the master gland or master of endocrine orchestra as it controls most of the endocrine glands of the body. Pituitary gland is called the master gland. Why is pituitary gland is called master gland? Because the hormones secreted from the pituitary glands are mainly control the secretion of the other glands. For example, TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone is actually secreted from the anterior pituitary glands, but it actually stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine hormone. Actually, production of the thyroxine hormone by the thyroid gland is actually depends on the secretion of the thyroid stimulating hormone which is secreted by the anterior pituitary gland. That's why most of the hormone secreted from the pituitary glands are tropic in nature. We have already discussed about the tropic hormone because the tropic hormone are those hormones which can stimulate the other endocrine glands to produce another hormone. That's why pituitary gland is called the master gland or master of endocrine orchestra. Now let's see the pituitary glands. Now let's discuss about the anterior pituitary glands or adenohypophysis. The secreted hormones and the functions of the anterior pituitary glands or adenohypophysis will be discussed here. Now, human growth hormone or somatotropin hormone (STH). Human growth hormone is actually control the growth of the tissues, bone, muscles and internal organ. This hormone is also influence the metabolic process. Human growth hormone is also known as somatotropin hormone. Soma means body and tropin means stimulating. So the somatotropin hormone is actually stimulate the body or somatotropin hormone stimulate the growth of the body by the growth of the body, or growth of the body is actually take places by the growth of the bone, muscle and the internal organ. Thyroid stimulating hormone, THH. This hormone stimulates the secretion of the thyroxine from the thyroid gland. Thyroid stimulating hormone also controls the intake of iodine by thyroid tissue. Adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. Adrenocorticotropic hormone stimulates adrenal cortex and regulates the secretion from adrenal gland. Adrenocorticotropic. If you see the name minutely, adrenocorticotropic. This hormone actually stimulates the cortex of the adrenal gland to produce some steroid types of hormone such as cortisol, hydrocortisone and gonadotropin. Luteinizing hormone, LH. Luteinizing hormone is another very important gonadotropin hormone released by the anterior pituitary glands. In case of male, this hormone stimulates the testes to secrete testosterone or androgen hormone, but in case of female, this hormone is actually responsible for formation of corpus luteum and production of progesterone in female. Corpus luteum is actually formed during the menstruation period, and it is actually formed after the ovulation of egg. When you will learn about the menstruation cycle, you can easily understand what is the corpus luteum and how can corpus luteum can produce the progesterone hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, and another very important gonadotropin hormone, which is produced by the anterior pituitary gland. In case of male, it stimulates or influences the production of sperm by the seminiferous tubules of testes. In female, it controls the development of the Graafian follicles. Graafian follicles is actually found in the ovaries. These Graafian follicles ultimately give rise to the mature ovum, but the maturation and development of the Graafian follicle is actually take places by the help of the follicle stimulating hormone. Prolactin hormone stimulates development of the breast and lactation in female. Melanocyte stimulating hormone control the pigments in melanocyte and thus determining the skin color. Posterior pituitary glands or neurohypophysis. Two very important hormones is released by the posterior pituitary glands or neurohypophysis. These are the antidiuretic hormone ADH, vasopressin and oxytocin. Actually, antidiuretic hormones or vasopressin or oxytocin is not produced by the posterior pituitary gland. It actually produces, these two hormones is actually produced by the hypothalamus, but these two hormones is stored in the posterior pituitary glands and secreted from there. Antidiuretic hormones or vasopressin functions. ADH increases the blood pressure. ADH or vasopressin also stimulate the kidneys reabsorb more water, preventing excessive water loss by kidney. Oxytocin causes contraction of uterus in female during childbirth and regulate lactation. Oxytocin is normally released in huge amount during the pregnancy, during the childbirth or labor, and this hormone is also responsible for the lactation or breast milk secretion. Now let's see the thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. The thyroid, look at the picture of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is a butterfly shaped structure, and there are 4 parathyroid glands over here. Thyroid gland, a pair of thyroid gland located in the neck just below the larynx. 3 important hormones are normally secreted from the thyroid glands. These are the thyroxine, number 2 triiodothyronine, number 3 thyrocalcitonin. Thyroxine functions. The thyroxine actually increases the metabolism of the iodine, proteins and carbohydrate. Thyroxine also increases cardiac output and heart rate. Triiodothyronine increases metabolic rate of iodine. Triiodothyronine or T3 is also increases the sensitivity to nervous tissue. Thyrocalcitonin increases the calcium absorption capability of the bone. Thyrocalcitonin is also influences the metabolism and transportation of phosphate. Now let's discuss about the parathyroid gland. Location. The parathyroid glands are 4 tiny glands located in neck on the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. This gland produce a hormone known as parathormone, which have the following functions. Actually, parathormone actually regulate the level of calcium and phosphate in the blood. Parathyroid increase the calcium level in the blood by following 3 ways. Number 1, breaking down the bone and causing calcium release. It also increases the body ability to absorb calcium from food. It also increases the kidney ability to hold on calcium that would otherwise be lost in the urine. Thymus gland. Location. The thymus gland is situated in the upper part of the chest, behind the breastbone. The hormone secreted from thymus gland is called thymosin. The function influence formation of the lymphocyte, especially T lymphocyte and antibody. As you know that the T lymphocyte is actually originated from the bone marrow, but maturation of the T lymphocyte is actually take places in the thymus gland. So the main function of the thymus gland is to maturate the T lymphocyte. Number 2, helps in deposition of minerals in the bone. Adrenal glands. Location. Adrenal glands are located on the top of the kidney. Each adrenal gland is made up of outer part called cortex and inner part called the medulla. Each part secrete hormones. Adrenal glands have 2 parts, cortex and medulla. The cortex secretes 3 hormones. Number 1, glucocorticoid or cortisol. Number 2, mineralocorticoid or aldosterone. Number 3, gonadocorticoid. Glucocorticoid or cortisol influences the synthesis of the collagen in muscle and liver. Cortisol is also increases absorption rate of glucose and lipid from the intestine. Mineralocorticoid or aldosterone increases the sodium chloride and water absorption capability of kidney. It also increases the excretion of the potassium. And gonadocorticoid controls sex differentiation of the embryo. Gonadocorticoid also influences the development of the sex gland, gonads and secondary sex tract. And 2 important hormones are secreted from the adrenal medulla of the kidney. These are the epinephrine or adrenaline and norepinephrine or noradrenaline. Epinephrine or adrenaline increases the heart rate, blood pressure and the carbohydrate metabolism rate. Epinephrine or adrenaline decrease the urine production rate. Norepinephrine or noradrenaline maintain a constant blood pressure. Noradrenaline or norepinephrine also increases the production of the tear, making the eye moist. Now let's discuss about the islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans are mainly found in the pancreas. The islets of Langerhans contain 4 kinds of cells which secrete some important hormones like glucagon, insulin, somatostatin, pancreatic polypeptide. Glucagon is a hormone which is secreted from the alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans. Glucagon increases the level of glucose in blood. It also decreases the secretion rate of digestive gland. Insulin decreases the level of glucose in blood. Insulin also increases the glycogen synthesis rate in liver and muscle by glycogenesis process. Somatostatin inhibit the activities of the alpha and beta cells. Pancreatic polypeptide may be involved in the food digestion. Now the pineal gland. Location. The pineal glands are also known as pineal body. Is a small oval structure attached by a narrow stalk to roof of the diencephalon of the brain. It produces melatonin hormone which influences sexual development, sleep wake cycle, and the skin color of the body. Now let's discuss about the impact of the different hormones on human behavior. Hormones have two very important functions. Number one, physiological function, and number two, behavioral function. Some of the most important hormones and their effect on behavior will be discussed here today. Thyroxine, excess release of thyroid hormones lead to symptoms include overexcitability, reduced concentration, fatigue, and insomnia. Number two, parathormone, influence level of excitability, melatonin. An imbalance of this hormone causes insomnia. Testosterone, to boost up men performance like verbal skill, perceptual skill, and aggressive behavior. Estrogen, to boost up women performance like verbal skill, perceptual skill, and aggressive behavior. Adrenaline, responsible for sex drive, also control mental stress and emotion. Norepinephrine, control mental stress and aggression. Pituitary hormone, thirst, sexual behavior, and interest. Impact of uncontrolled use of different hormones. As you know that the hormone secreted from the very different types of endocrine glands is in a very small amount, but due to the deficiency of the some hormone, some abnormalities may be occurred in human body. So doctor prescribes some hormone replacement therapy to overcome this problem or to treat that abnormalities. But sometimes excess amount of hormone can lead to some adverse effect in human body. Some of the adverse effect of uncontrolled use of different hormone will be discussed here today. Growth hormone effect, nerve, muscle and joint pain, high level of cholesterol, thyroxine, weight loss, heat sensitivity, excessive sweating, headache, nervousness. Insulin, swelling of arm and leg, weight gain, hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is the condition in where there is a decreased level of glucose in the blood. Epinephrine, sweating, headache, weakness, faster or irregular heartbeat. Testosterone, breast swelling, headache, anxiety, prostate cancer. Estrogen, breast tenderness, abdominal cramping, anxiety. Now homework, prepare a chart mentioning the location of different endocrine glands, their secreted hormones and functions. Creative question, teachers were discussing about a biochemical substance to be act as a chemical messenger which play a very important role in human body. Teacher also discussed that the uncontrolled use of this biochemical messenger may cause some major complication in human body. A. What is trophic hormone? Why is pituitary gland called the mustard gland? C. Describe the importance of biochemical messenger as mentioned in above scheme. D. Analyze the last statement of the teacher as mentioned in the above scheme. Thanks for everybody for your patience hearing. I think today's lecture is very much important lecture for all of you. I am requesting you all to watch my video lecture for several times so that you can understand each and every point that have been discussed here today. If you have any queries regarding my today's lecture, feel free to ask me, or you can ask your respective subject teacher regarding your queries. We are always prepared to answer your queries. Thank you all.